Quick reminder to anyone who hasn't already, if you could, please go and check out the link in the description for Mostro Clothing, new wee project that me and my mates have set up. It'd be great if you could go and check out some products, buy some products and share it with your friends. We've had a good start so far and we'd like more people to get involved. And it's just a chance to be closer to donating it. So link in the description. Cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today's video could be very mistimed. I maybe would have been better holding off until Monday to make this video, but I've decided to do it today to continue on the series that I've been doing about the next Celtic manager, and this is the one that probably you've all been waiting for. This is the one who has got the biggest chance of getting the Celtic job and keeping the Celtic job, and that is Neil Lennon. The comment sections has been filled of different and split opinions on whether or not Neil Lennon should carry on with the job, whether we should hand it over to someone like Marco Rose, like Roberto Martinez, or anyone else. But this is the one that has caused the most debate, the most spark in the comments, and that is to see Neil Lennon keep the Celtic job. Now, I mentioned this in the video that I made in the Old Firm preview, that a lot of people are split on social media. If you go into Twitter, you've got a very 50-50 split on who or what the opinion is, on if Neil Lennon should keep the Celtic job, if it should be him keeping it past the summer or someone else. You get that 50% saying no, don't give Neil Lennon the job, let's move on. And we'll look at both sides of the argument. And you've got that 50% saying he bleeds Celtic through and through, give him the Celtic job. The reason I say this is probably mistimed is because the opinion could change massively on Sunday. It could change completely between all Celtic fans. We could go out on Sunday and beat Rangers 4 or 5-0, and you'll get the majority of the fan base saying, you know what, it's Neil Lennon's job, give him it, keep him, he's the one to take Celtic forward. Or we could go out, play very poorly, even drop points, whether that would be drawing or losing, and then I think you'll see a massive a seismic shift between the Celtic fans and saying no, we can't have Neil Lennon going forward. So Sunday really is a big game for determining whether or not we think Neil Lennon should have the job. There's still another game to go against Rangers. We could go to Ibrox and things could happen there. There's still a trophy to be won as well. There's still a lot of time for the opinion to change on whether or not Neil Lennon should get the job. I think the mass amount of people would say that if Celtic can win the treble this season, if Neil Lennon can bring the treble home and get some positive performances on the way there, then we should give him the job. But at the same time, I think the first few weeks haven't been great in allowing Celtic fans to collectively come together with an opinion. So we'll start off with the basics, the facts. Neil Lennon is a Celtic man. He loves the club. He played for us for 6 years. In that time captained us. He played in that team that got to the UEFA Cup final in 2003. He won multiple league titles. And then he came back obviously in 2010 after Tony Mowbray was sacked to become caretaker manager, and then eventually full-on manager, where he won 3 league titles. The one thing that always annoyed me about Neil Lennon's first reign was our record in cup competitions, and obviously the Scottish Cup is going to be able to show us whether or not he's improving that. His record in cup competitions was absolutely atrocious. He won 2 Scottish Cups while he was here, and that was all. And in the space of 3-4 seasons, we won 2 cups, which, in comparison to what Brendan Rodgers done in the last 2 seasons, is shocking. It wasn't good enough, and it was time in 2013 for Neil Lennon to move on, take his trade elsewhere. We wanted that change, which is one thing that I still kind of want, is change. I feel like if we resort back to something we've already had, and Neil Lennon had the chance and he took us to 3 league titles, to have that again is quite disappointing. It doesn't feel like an upgrade. As much as I love Neil Lennon, I've made videos in the past declaring my ultimate love for Neil Lennon, my support for Neil Lennon throughout all the shit that the guy's had to go through in his career up in Scotland. I love him. I think he's absolutely fantastic and a hell of a guy. But personally, me, I don't feel like he should be given the Celtic job, not for reasons that he's not good enough and the results and the performances haven't been good enough, and we'll come on to that as well, just for the sheer reason that, from Brendan Rodgers to Neil Lennon, doesn't feel like we're moving on as a club. It feels like we're taking a step backwards in my eyes. I just don't feel like we are taking the step that we should be to, go and secure 10 in a row and improve on a European stage. Now, Neil Lennon's record in European football is not bad at all. This is a guy who got us to the Champions League group stage. This is a guy who took us to the last 16. He beat Barcelona. We all remember that night, an absolutely incredible night in the history of our club. But, there is other managers out there who can do it for us. Brendan Rodgers, you might argue wasn't as good. You know, he never got us to the last 16. He did get us to the Champions League group stage in his first 2 seasons, and he did get us to the last 32 of the Europa League in the last couple of years, but his record on the European stage wasn't great. Neil Lennon, you could argue, is better. Just purely because he managed to take us to that last 16 stage in the Champions League. But football has evolved so much, even in that short space of time. In the space of 2012 to right now, football has changed so much. Money has become even bigger in the factor of football. It has just changed the game completely. In the space of 5 years, 6 years, football has changed completely. And it was always going to be harder for anyone in the year 2016, 17, 18 than what it was in 2012. And you might think that's a ridiculous statement, considering it's just such a short space of time, but it's true. In the space of Neil Lennon leaving Celtic and Brendan Rodgers leaving Celtic, we've seen £200 million players such as Neymar. We've seen Gareth Bale moving to Real Madrid for £90 million. You know, anybody in 2012, the record was still Cristiano Ronaldo moving to Real Madrid, and that's because he is genuinely one of the greatest players to ever grace the game. But in that space of 5 years, the way money has changed clubs and evolved competitions and just changed the landscape of football altogether is unbelievable. So European football is always going to be difficult for whoever takes the reins. But domestically, I feel like we've had our time with Neil Lennon, and I just want to see something fresh. I want to see a different type of football. The football hasn't been great since Neil Lennon's came in. And I'm not just blaming that on Neil Lennon. At the end of the day, the 11 players on the park on the day have as much as a responsibility as what the manager does. But I feel like I've had enough of this kind of side-to-side, slow football. And yes, we got that under Brendan Rodgers at times. But would you not want to see change? Do you not want to see someone come in with fresh ideas and bring in new faces? And, you know, just ultimately have a new grasp on the team. If we brought in someone like Marco Rose, then, you know, you're getting something different. There's no doubt about that. He's got to come in with new ideas, bring in players that we've never heard of. And Neil Lennon was fantastic at that. Like, we'll come on to the positives in a minute. This isn't just going to be a video on why Neil Lennon shouldn't get the job. Don't worry, that's not all the video is about. But I would, you know, the fact that we could get a Martinez, or approach Martinez, or approach Marco Rose, or approach someone else who can bring something new, just to me seems like a better idea. Because Neil Lennon, as much as I love him, just doesn't feel like the right way forward. I do believe he could deliver 10 in a row, and ultimately I think that is the aim of Celtic, to get 10 in a row, and whoever does it, fuck it, who cares? It's 10 in a row. That's what we've been shouting about for the last 8 years. So if he was to bring it, then who the fuck cares at the end of the day? But something fresh, something new, I would like it. And the performances recently, I think, have turned a lot of people off about the idea of having Neil Lennon here for the next couple of seasons. But still an option. The positives, let's look at the positives of Neil Lennon. We spoke about, he bleeds Celtic. He knows the club. He's got a healthy relationship with the board and the fans. His recruitment when he was here as Celtic manager, you know, I'm not even going to go out my way to say it was outstanding, because he did bring in the gems, right? Think of Victor Wanyama, think of Fraser Forster, think of Virgil van Dijk. These are players who have went on to have fantastic careers down south and prove their worth. Especially Van Dijk, you look at him now, he's the best defender in the world. I don't need to talk about that, because that is genuinely the conversation on Sky Sports every week. But Neil Lennon brought in some fantastic players, but then you look at some players he brought in as well. We don't need to talk about some of the shit that he brought in. You know, you get your Timu Pukis, your Amido Baldis, you know, your Dirk Barigters. You get those as well. But I guess that's the balance with every manager. I mean, Brendan Rodgers brought in Marvin Comper. I guess that happens. You get your duds, you get your stars. His recruitment is good though. You know, he's managed to find unknown players and turn them into fantastic footballers. And we could do with that. I think some freshness in the squad with unknown names could work. But is it worth that gamble? Would you not rather a name who can attract players with an established, you know, sort of playing experience around them, so we can secure this 10 in a row? And ultimately, my biggest dream is just to see us move forward in the European stage. As much as it's far-fetched, I don't know if Neil Lennon can do it. I don't know if he can attract the right players, especially after having a manager like Brendan Rodgers with such an aroma around him. Aroma means smell. You know, he probably did have quite a smell. But, you know what I mean? Such an aura, that's the word, around him. Players wanted to play under Brendan Rodgers. He was really, really known for how he worked with players and man-managed. I would like a manager who can do that again. But Neil Lennon knows the club, he bleeds the club, and he would kill to be here for 10 in a row, and he'll die for 10 in a row. Because, you know, the passion he has for the club and the passion he has against Rangers to stop that is unbelievable. So there is a lot of positives at the same time, bringing in Neil Lennon. I'm going to have a poll in the top whatever corner of the screen. Do you want Neil Lennon as next Celtic manager? For me, I'm not going to sit and cry. I'm not going to campaign against the idea of Neil Lennon as manager. Just personally, I want that little bit of change. But if he's given the job, I will stand behind the man completely 100%. And I will wish him the best in the quest for 10 in a row. And I'll happily support him in that quest. I've frozen. I've frozen. I don't know if I'm still talking, but on my screen I've frozen. So I'm just going to say like and subscribe right now, in case I have frozen for you. Like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. Let me know your opinions. I'm back now. I'm not frozen anymore. I've ended it anyway. Neil Lennon, is he the next Celtic manager? See you all next time.